The Supreme Court continues to be incredibly disappointing as they abdicate all of their power to an insane person who has insane intentions. And I believe that their intention is to make a white Christian nationalist country. They've been groomed by billionaires for this moment. We'll leave the psychiatrist to study Clarence Thomas, but this is coming out right now, breaking news. The U.S. Supreme Court's conservative justices appear sympathetic towards challenge to landmark Voting Rights Act. This is where democracy dies. They are eroding decades and decades and decades of progress. This is a slap in the face to millions of Americans, no matter what your skin color is. And here's what's so fascinating to me about this. Y'all know that story broke from Politico, where all of the young Republicans were saying they love Hitler and talking about gas chambers, calling people the N-word, just racist, misogynist, sexist. Well, J.D. Vance is married to a woman of Indian descent. And here's what he has to say about the young members of the young Republican Party. Listen to this.
Focusing on what kids are saying in a group chat. Grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. But there's another angle to this that I just have to be honest about. I mean, I'm like an old guy at this point. I'm 41 years old. I have 3 kids. I grew up in a different world, right? Where not most of the stupid things that I did when I was a teenager and a young adult, they're not on the internet. Like, I'm going to tell my.
Okay, pause it right there, Kylie. When he was younger, he actually said that he thought that Donald Trump was America's Hitler, and that's out there. And now that he's older, he's actually worse. He's a worse person. Like, everybody that comes into contact with Donald Trump, they morally collapse. Once you capitulate once, it's like all of the other moral collapse just follows. Look no further than this guy. Look no further than Marco Rubio. But how this guy has brown kids, mixed race brown kids, and he cannot stand up against racism should tell you everything you need to know about this movement. He is throwing his wife and his kids under the bus. Okay, play the clip.
Don't put things on the internet. Like, be careful with what you post. If you put something in a group chat, assume that some scumbag is going to leak it in an effort to try to cause you harm or cause your family harm. But the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke.
Okay, what's so crazy about his logic is, like, he's the inverse of this. Like, his record now, his public record now is that of these young Republicans. I mean, that is his public record. That's the regression of J.D. Vance. And you'll notice there the full-blown smoky eye and how he has just caved and caved and caved to this sociopathic thought. And it's fascinating. It's a psychological case study for me, how Marco Rubio, how this guy, how so many other Republicans have become just worse human beings. I'm not saying they were great before, but there was some decorum. They believed in the democracy. They believed against, overturning the Voting Rights Act. But all of this stuff is linked. And this is like Heritage Foundation, these billionaires, these white racist billionaires who have been grooming the Supreme Court justices for this moment. And they're all connected to these oligarchs. And at some point, all of it's going to crash. J.D. Vance and his kids will get sent off the wayside because once Donald Trump dies, J.D. Vance doesn't have the riz to keep the cult together. And so they're using him right now because I believe what J.B. Pritzker says when he says that the people surrounding Donald Trump are exploiting his dementia. I think that's totally true. I think J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller are like, okay, work on this decorating project, work on this architecture project. Oh yeah, we'll do a circle jerk compliment humiliation exercise meeting for you this afternoon. And they keep him busy. Meanwhile, these diabolical people are going after the courts, and they have 6 like, I mean, paid off refs on the Supreme Court. And now there is this huge propaganda campaign to say that the rallies, the No King rallies that are this weekend, are hate America rallies. And make no mistake about it, nobody hates America more than JD Vance, his oligarch boyfriend, Peter Thiel, who said he doesn't think democracy serves people any better. He thinks he gets to buy it off. He thinks he gets to change everything. And then all of these billionaires that support all of these Supreme Court justices are white supremacists that want a white Christian nationalist nation. And here's the thing. I guarantee you, if you look at all of these people, all of their Google search history, for all their sanctimony, I'm sure it's pretty fucked up. All right, moving along. We have just brazen abuses of power. Put this tweet up. Richard Hania tweets, the Trump administration has frozen or cut $27 billion in funding in Democratic districts compared to $739 million in Republican districts. There are open abuses of power occurring daily that would have been unthinkable under any other administration. And so there you see it. And this is such a short-sighted fool's errand. These Democratic cities and these Democratic districts are the economic hubs. This is where all commerce happens. This is such a short-sighted, I'm going to cut my nose off despite my face, because these blue cities, these blue districts fund the Republican rural districts. And so this is just insane. This is something that makes Trump feel good. It's like a feel good, okay, yeah, I'm cutting off these Democrats because they don't like me. And they know that I really lost in 2020. And they know that I cheated golf. And he can't handle it. So this is such a short-sighted, stupid, brazen abuse of power. And then next up, the Secretary of Defense or of War, Pete Hegseth, is literally the most embarrassing person in the administration. For me, it's like really embarrassing Donald Trump, but to be more embarrassing than Trump is, Pete Hegseth. Put this up. Pentagon officials are forcing staff to watch or read Pete Hegseth's warrior speech he forced generals to listen to. Officials are even, quote, testing staff on the speech and threatening consequences if they lie about watching or mock it, sources say. This is the speech where he sat there and grandstanded about we couldn't have fat people in the military. Meanwhile, the commander in chief is binge eating McDonald's and Air Force One every chance he can get. Can you imagine how any other country, if you 5 years ago, if you heard of another country doing something like this, you'd be like, that's nuts. Well, now they are making all of this crazy stuff that the American collective conscious used to say, oh, that's crazy. That's North Korea. That's dictator stuff. That's here. That's here in the United States. We are ruled by the biggest fucking thin-skinned, insecure freaks. These people would never get hired anywhere else. The only reason they have these very serious, very important jobs is because they will seriously kiss Donald Trump's ass. That's it. And what's so sad about this is in this country, we have real experts who have spent years and years and years studying whatever it is, whether it's military or the economy or health or tax law, all of this stuff that we have all of these experts that have probably never made a B in their lives that sit there and geek out. And we have these bozos running the country. There is nothing more disrespectful, in my opinion, to the military than Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. All right. And now this is something that I just really struck me. I saw this on Twitter, and this is a video of Condoleezza Rice speaking about Israel-Gaza situation. And then a person who's quickly becoming one of my favorite thought leaders. He's a Jewish journalist and thought leader named Peter Beinart. And I want y'all to listen to this.
Here's what the Palestinians could start to do. They've got to start to recognize that Israel is going to exist and it's going to be a part of this Middle East. And that means change the lessons that you teach your kids about the state of Israel. Stop putting up maps that the state of Israel doesn't exist. Don't create another generation of Palestinians who believe that somehow the resistance is the way to peace and security.
I mean, you and I know a lot of Palestinians who have negative views about Israel. I've never heard one of them ever say that their hostility to Israel is because of something they read in a textbook. It's because their father was killed. Their grandmother was pushed off of their home. They watched their elderly relatives standing for hours and hours baking in a checkpoint. Their homes were destroyed. They saw relatives of them starving to death. It's not that complicated, right? I don't want Palestinians to hate Israel, but if we don't want Palestinians to hate Israel, Israel has to stop doing the kinds of things that produce hate. Oppression produces hate. It's not about textbooks. It's so patronizing and it's so divorced from reality.
Okay, I show you guys this because I think it's a good example of where we are in general with everything. You have propaganda, which is what Condoleezza Rice was promoting. And Condoleezza Rice stands in this corporate-owned political structure, whether you're Republican or Democrat, they all kind of sound the same, just what Condoleezza Rice says. We interviewed Cory Booker a couple of days ago. It's that same kind of just propaganda. And then you have this guy who's speaking the truth. He's speaking the facts. The reason that these Palestinians are so mad at the Israelis is because of the violence and the stealing of their land. And if we really want peace, and we really want these two places to peacefully coexist, we have to speak the truth about it. And that's what I think you see corporate media right now, and they fluff up all this fluffery bullshit. The Trump administration, all of this fluffery propaganda. And the rest of us here are like, let's just get to the nut cutting. Let's just speak really about what's happening. Why do these Democratic politicians have such a difficult time saying that Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? Why do they have such a difficult time speaking candidly against corporate interests? Why do they vote for some of Trump's nominees? And it's so maddening, especially when you get to Hakeem Jeffries, who still has not endorsed Zohran Mamdani. And Zohran Mamdani won decisively in the primary. And now it's the main election that's coming up. And now it's time for all of the Democrats to stand by him. Kathy Hochul has, but you have these corporate Dems that are rah, rah, sis, boom, bah for Benjamin Netanyahu's government, which, by the way, Benjamin Netanyahu's government wanted Trump to win. And if these Democratic politicians really gave a shit about the hostages, they would have moved heaven and earth to make Joe Biden's deal, which was the exact same deal that just happened 1 year ago. 1 year ago, think about how many people would be alive. A lot of those hostages would still be alive. A lot of these Palestinian children would still be alive. The starving wouldn't have been as intense. But they don't. And that's why I appreciate so much about what that guy said. And that's where we are right now. We're sick of politicians treating us like we're stupid because we see it. We see what's happening. And I just want to leave you with the out of touch Democratic leadership. These guys have no clue what is happening with the Democratic base. They are utterly clueless. And the Democratic leadership are, in my opinion, behaving as conservatives, trying to conserve and preserve the status quo that allowed Donald Trump to win 2 elections. Play the clip.
It is the power of a movement that won the battle over the soul of the Democratic Party.
Mr. Leader, does Mamdani and that movement represent the soul of your party?
Well, the Democratic Party, of course, is extremely diverse, and it's represented by people like
but there's only
Mikey
one
Sherrill.
soul.
It's represented by people like Mikey Sherrill, who obviously is en route to becoming the next governor of New Jersey, Abigail Spanberger, who's about to become the next governor of Virginia. I haven't spoken to Zohran since the shutdown started.
I mean, what a dick. I mean, seriously, what a dick. It's unbelievable that he just can't say, listen, he's a little bit further left than I am, but I respect the will of the people. It's so Trumpian. They behave like MAGA light. It's just so Trumpian to not acknowledge the will of the voters of New York. If Mamdani's a little bit more liberal than you, just say it. Put that caveat in there. That's what Kathy Hochul did. But instead, you allow all of these people to browbeat him and say he's a jihadist and all of these things that are utterly untrue. And you leave this vacuum waiting to be filled, and bad actors fill it, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, and others. All right, rant over. We will be back later with more news. Make sure you subscribe and like this episode.